This week we got to speak to Jan Lucanus and a slew of others, Patrick Brennan, Sam Levine, and Professor John Machado. Yeah, that's right, I said it, Professor John Machado of the Machado family.
Yeah.
And they all work on a project together called Justice for Hire. We're going to let them tell you what Justice for Hire is, but it's awesome, so if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. If you're a martial arts fan, if you're a comic book fan, either way, it'll work for you. So, but we have about...
If you're an anything fan, you'll like this.
We have about a 45-minute interview with all four of them, but I think it's pretty interesting. You're going to get some inside scoop on some really cool stuff. So let's go ahead and kick that off right now, and then we'll be back to do this week's Chop Kick Flick.
The world has become an uglier, more threatening place. In 2010, the U.S. government passes the Citizens and Property Security Act, also known as the Retribution Act, allowing private counter-terrorist security forces to thrive. Above the law, numerous retribution teams arise, some for justice, others for whatever dirty deed a client is willing to pay for.
So this is a pretty big day for us here at the Takedown. We're finally getting the opportunity to speak with someone that I wanted to talk to since day one of the show's launch. We finally managed to hook up, and wow, you brought with you an entourage of names and talent. So let me take a second just to introduce all you guys, and kind of we'll get into your roles and things as we go. But first up is Mr. Jan Lucanus. Am I saying that correctly?
Well, that's absolutely correct.
And he's from Creative Impulse, and he's one of the people behind the comic phenomenon, as we're going to call it, which is Justice for Hire. And you bring with you just a plethora of people today. First of all, we have from Spillwall, we have Vice President Sam Levine. From Nine Dot from Nine Dot Entertainment, we have co-founder Patrick Brennan, and a name we probably don't really need to introduce, but we're going to anyway. Mr. John Machado is with us today. And, wow, this might be, I think this is probably the biggest group we've ever compiled for the show. So let's go ahead and kick it off. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Well, let's start by having you tell the people at home about Creative Impulse and what exactly the company is and how did Creative Impulse come about?
Sure. I mean, CIE, Creative Impulse Entertainment, I started in 2003. I was a junior at film school at NYU, and just kind of made sense to create a banner. But I mean, we're pretty much more known for being a comic book media company and just kind of developing ideas in comics that we see as existing as movies and TV and games. But we're also a full service production company, producing live action content like shorts, music videos, virals. We do animation, music. But beyond that, even deeper at our core, we're a home for artists that can articulate their messages on multiple platforms simultaneously. And that's an example of that is something like Justice for Hire, where you have the JFH comics, which came out with DVDs on the market when we first released them. And, everything from the music to the web content that's associated with Justice for Hire all expands one universe. So you'll see us making a stronger push onto the artist side in the coming year as well.
Now, when did Justice for Hire begin, and whose brainchild was it?
JFH came from, I was 17 in the New York Film Academy, just kind of taking film classes in high school. And a friend just kept singing this song, Ebony and Ivory, to me. And he would come up to me and just put his arm around me and start doing that. And I said to myself, what an incredible name for an action duo. And the first image that popped into my head were John Travolta and Sam Jackson from Pulp Fiction. And I thought about those guys. I thought about a yin-yang, and then that matched their suits, the black and white. And it just made sense to ask the question of what would happen if these guys had sons. And what kind of parents would they be? What kind of sons would they have? And that just spun into a whole, to what Justice for Hire is, which is, of course the Pulp Fiction guys were killers and JFH guys are definitely heroes.
Right.
But that idea of being outside the law, and we've taken that pretty far in Justice for Hire. I know you have questions on that a little bit later, and I can dive deeper into the whole world when you want to do that.
Okay.
Well, can you give us a quick background as to what JFH, Justice for Hire, is about?
Sure. I mean, just continuing on that inspiration, of that Pulp Fiction inspiration. I mean, it's a story of two fathers who have a vigilante hero for hire service, and with their sons, each has a son. They get that business legalized, and it sparks an entire industry, which is called the Retribution industry, of competing teams that are all vying for competing against each other for different justice jobs. And some of these teams are not on the up and up. They're really more so for about the money and about the exposure, and it becomes this entire industry of crazy characters and teams. Some are martial artists, some guys use machine guns or motorcycle gangs, and it's pretty awesome.
Now, one of the things I think is really interesting about Justice for Hire is that the whole thing's been influenced by actual martial arts and actual martial artists' work on the project. So, I mean, how do you guys feel this benefits the story overall, and how does it give you guys an advantage, or do you think it gives you an advantage over like more traditional animated and graphic serials?
The biggest issue that I had reading comics, especially as my knowledge of martial arts got deeper and deeper, and I was born and raised in a martial arts family, but just when I started doing competitions and really started having to break down every moment of a movement and start training moments rather than moves, the clarity of martial arts action in comic books just wasn't there. And some of I think it was the Street Fighter series that Udon continues to put out. They were doing such a great job of showing the moments in between the strikes for the Street Fighter movements. And of course, those movements aren't the most realistic martial arts moves.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that they had action pacing when most, you look at Marvel Comics, DC Comics, most of the more popular titles don't have that. They just have the strikes, they have the technique, and that's pretty much it, and then the outcome. So we were like, well, what happens if we take our knowledge of real martial arts and really start putting it onto the page and showing how, I think it's issue number 2, Justice for Hire. We have a guy it's almost like an instruction booklet, one of the old kung fu instruction booklets of, punch, kick, sidestep. It literally has a guy running through a gauntlet of people, a character named Isaiah, running through a gauntlet of people and just knocking them all out and taking them all down with actual techniques. And, we just wanted to build on that idea of being able to give somebody, to be able to read the comic, and if you take a deep look, you can actually learn something from it.
Now, you mentioned a few minutes ago how when it came out, you guys actually launched it with a DVD of live-action content, which is something pretty cool. I know Casey and I have kind of grown up reading comic books and lots of graphic novels, and this is something completely new. You've never seen anything like that before. So where did this idea come from? I mean, what pushed you guys to deliver this with this DVD?
Well, the Justice for Hire was based off of live-action shorts that I was doing throughout film school. So my senior thesis was like a 45-minute Justice for Hire short. It was like an extended featurette. And it was also under Creative Impulse, so because the company had already launched by that time, so it technically was a Creative Impulse project. It just doubled as my senior thesis to graduate, and it just made sense looking at the world that we created, and my dad having his history as a comic book writer. He looked at the short, and he actually looked at the script for the short. And he was like, "This is cool," and out of nowhere, it came back a couple weeks later with a comic book script that expanded the world that we were already shooting for the live action. And I was just like, wow, this, he's bringing stuff to the table that I never even thought about, and really giving a much more clarity to how a business for Retribution, for Justice for Hire, how it would be turned from a vigilante organization to, once it's legalized, an actual corporation, and all of the logistics behind that and how the inner workings would unfold. And it was just so cool to read that, and made it so much more alive and real that we said, hey, let's let's go right into producing a comic book for this, and that was the first, our first collaboration, my dad and myself on a comic, and we immediately went to Neil Adams to do some of the preliminary art, which he did, and a couple of panels for us, but ultimately it wasn't Neil who fully realized the JFH art vision. He was moving on to directing content, and we got a great artist from Spain to come on board, and named Antonio Rojo, and we released the comic, and it just took off ever since.
Yeah, whatever you guys are doing, it's working, man. It's becoming a juggernaut. It's breaking free of your more traditional comic book stuff. I mean, we're starting to see, first of all, Comixology, which is where I found it.
An awesome app, by the way.
There's the live action, the web series, the motion comics, and I mean, it's just breaking free. I mean, it's crazy. And by the way, I wanted to comment on those motion comics. I've seen motion comics before. These look less like motion comics and more like an animated series, in my opinion. They're great. They're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So
I mean a lot to Zach, Susan, and Melissa at Willow Road Animation, who actually produced that for us. I mean, it's a brother-sister team that they do everything, and it's crazy.
Well, like I said, I've watched motion comics before, and I mean, I've seen some good ones, I've seen some bad ones. Some can get a little boring at times, but these are pretty much as close to an animated feature as you can get without just being an animated feature. They're really great.
It's beautiful to hear you say that. Thank you.
Now, the team working behind the scenes is pretty amazing, and you guys do it from across the country, from one another at times. Now, let's take a second to talk about who works on this and what the roles are.
Tell who you are and what you do. The people we have on the phone. Now, I know there's a whole group of other people that we haven't had the chance to talk to, but if you guys want to kind of shoot and tell us who you are and what you do for the comics.
Sure. I mean, just in terms of, on the comic side,
I guess on every side, yeah.
This is Jan, and so on the comic side, I co-created JFH with my dad and Jan T. Childress, and we, guys, if you hear a little dog in the car, it's not a little dog; it's actually a big half wolf sitting behind me. I co-write on the comic series. Our newest issue, which is Rise of Retribution. It's Justice for Hire issue 0, Rise of Retribution. That's the important part of the title. That's primarily been something that I've been focused on for a while personally. That new story arc, and just kind of telling a prequel. Issues 1 through 4 of the comic are after the Retribution Act has been passed and Justice for Hire is legalized. This is telling the story of the vigilante, the rise of Justice for Hire, and how the act got legalized, how the fathers and sons, the two generations of Ebony and Ivory, or Yin and Yang, is the inspiration behind that, legalized the industry. So I've been writing on the comic. I've been directing all the live action content that we've been doing for the series. That whether we release them as DVDs with the comics or the web series that we did afterward, and that's. Besides that, I'm also on the Creative Impulse side, and just setting up all of our other titles and stuff like that. And we have Patrick Brennan here, who probably should jump on, talk a little bit more next, but he's on the development side of Justice for Hire for everything that we're doing on the film TV side, and
Yeah,
Pat,
I feel a little slighted now because I definitely don't have all the accolades that Jan just went through on his list of achievements. But yeah, I came from more of the traditional feature film and television development side of things. Worked for years at a company in development at Sony Pictures, and when I went out on my own, our sort of mandate is to find great projects and talented people that are working on them. And so, it was a perfect fit when I met with Jan and we, discussed Justice for Hire, and, our sort of, our role here is really to, figure out exactly how to make that organic transition from, what you guys saw as a comic book with a DVD in the shrink wrap to a huge franchise. And like Jan said, we talk about worlds rather than just, a movie or a TV show or, a comic book. And, so my role here is just sort of to guide that process from, the panels on the page until we get to, the big blockbuster movie down the line.
Now, did you guys meet at NYU or did you meet after?
It's funny. We didn't actually know each other at NYU, but we met through a mutual friend of ours who, we had worked on films together and stuff like that. So, Jen? It was 2 years ago at Comic-Con that we actually formally met.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a little while for us to meet each other, but then we've been working together for the last 2 years now.
Now we also have Sam Levine with us, correct?
Yeah. I'm here.
Now, Sam, you train in JKD, as do all of us here in the studio today. I think we have a similar lineage as far as it goes. We're under a man by the name of Sifu Charles Reed, who was instructed by Guru Dan Inosanto. So, thought that was kind of cool.
Got it.
So we're
I mean, I go through Ed Monahan and Jerry Petit, but ultimately Inosanto and Petit both trained with Bruce, so
right.
we both were pretty fortunate to be kind of close to the source.
But I could geek on. We literally could geek on about that all day. That's going to be the problem here today. Is we're going to hit on all the JFH and Creative Impulse and things like that, but we could honestly talk to you guys for hours just about martial arts.
Right.
I mean,
martial arts.
But let's take just a second to talk about Spillwall and its role with Justice for Hire.
Sure. So Spillwall is a pretty broad company. The parent company is Kairos Transmedia, and we own a very large, for-purpose built film and television studio in Canada. It's one of only 10% of studios. 10% of the studios in the world were built for purpose, and this is one of them. So it's state of the art, designed by George Lucas. It's just a beautiful facility. We also own a large children's magazine, an in-school media literacy program. We're about to launch a kids social platform, and then we have an entertainment company inside of all that works with properties like Justice for Hire to develop and produce and distribute and market. So we're really, from a top-down perspective, we're here to kind of augment and support what these guys have done with JFH and help them take it to the next level, help them really try to, maximize their potential in whichever way we can. So our goal is to really augment this whole process and support. So that's everything. Initially, that's going to be everything from an animation or animatics feature for kids, digital comic books to go along with that, and then a live action, interactive, episodic content for the internet that will also double down into some original feature film material. And then where it goes from there is kind of up to the audience. We're going to get underneath and behind all of that. And if the audience shows up for all of that the way they've shown up for everything else Justice for Hire and CIE's done, then we'll just keep the ball rolling into bigger and better things.
Now, Sam, you were just recently at Comic-Con, correct?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. How is we've been dying to go for years. It's just we're a little far away, but how was Comic-Con overall? I mean, how was your experience there?
It's first of all, let me just say, Comic-Con is insane. It's I've been in media and entertainment for 15 years. I've been reading comic books for 30, and this was the first Comic-Con I have ever gone to, which is sad to say, but I didn't want to go down until I had like a real reason aside from just being a fanboy. So it all timed out well. So I got to go down there on Thursday with Jan and the whole team and do the whole Comic-Con business, that whole thing. And it was amazing. We had a big announcement Thursday night at the Martial Arts Extravaganza, which Jan was, fantastic, including all this in the announcement. And then I went back on Saturday with my family, and it was just amazing. It's just a great place. You got to get out here.
Yeah, see, we get to go to cons around here, but and some of them get crazy, but we've heard stories about, we've been hearing about Comic-Con. I actually have a friend who lives out that way, and she has no interest in it whatsoever, but she's like, yeah, it gets crazy around here whenever it's going on. I can't get anywhere. I can't do anything. So we've been dying to go for years, but I heard that you guys were recently there. How does that? I mean, does that do really well for you guys? Do you guys get a lot of interest as far as Comic-Con goes with the comics and with the series?
Yeah, the comics. This is Jan again. Yeah, the Comic-Con has been the San Diego Comic-Con in particular has been a hub for us for the last since '07 when we really started exhibiting there, and just the whole team behind. I mean, the team that runs it, Comic-Con International, they're wonderful, wonderful people, and they just make it such a pleasurable experience. And the fans, that come from all across the world because it's the world's biggest event of its kind.
Right.
I mean, it's just the type of exposure that you get there. That people will find your book. I mean, you go there, you have the content, and the audience will find you. And it's just been wonderful for us every year, and it gets better. And this past year with the martial arts extravaganza, or I believe it's now being called the superhero kung fu extravaganza, that's run by Rick Myers, for the last 15 years at the con. The support that they've given us over the years to premiere with live action, and this past year animated content has been just incredible for us, and we're really thankful for all that support.
Now, we have to point out Professor John Machado, as we train under the Machado family system as well, all of our students being ranked under John Jack Machado as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, John Jack comes out to our school about once a year, and nobody's allowed to rank unless he ranks them, so that's, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Now, how did you find your way into this motley bunch, and what hats do you wear in this?
I met Jan back in '05. He came to Los Angeles to a common friend to do some training. And after class, he showed me I think it was the first issue, Jan, of GFH.
Yeah, it was like a little preview. It was like a little ash can. Yeah.
With a DVD. He was telling me about his project, his dreams, and I was like, wow. It really impressed me because this guy was like early 20s at that time, and I was like, wow, this kid is driven, and it really impressed me on him was that, the sparkle in his eyes, and I said, man, I'm in, whatever I can do. And he approached me to do actually a comic book, which I had a little story that I want to develop for something, for a movie project but I never really thought about making a comic book in my life. Even though I grew up reading comics in Brazil, it's a big, we have a comic book stand, a magazine stand in every corner, like in Rio. So it's very easy to buy comics. You're very exposed to. You have to go to a comic book store. There's everywhere. So, as a fan of the medium of comics, I was like, wow. So we actually developed, sidetrack a little bit, a parallel story, like the Faixa Preta, which was the story that I had in my mind. And also another thing that was interesting to see is how Jan was able to assemble teams. And like the people we have here talking to you, came through Jan. So how he hooked up the artist and this guy and that guy, and my comic book came to life at that time. So, and through the years, it was I saw the project growing, first issue, second issue, third, and growing graphic novel, and all I wanted to do was always to be like as a friend, a partner involved in a project as well. Is the idea of let's make something unique with the artist, and I think that's the vision that Jan has, with the way he works with all of us, with all the people involved. It's a very sharing kind of idea where everyone has an input to his idea, to the company. So it's a teamwork. And my part would be, of course, on GFH I play Ram, who has like a rival team, on Justice for Hire. And so I play a character, and that's the acting side, but it will be also the choreography, the behind-the-scenes work. to make it realistic, to make it fun at the same time. And so we're going to put all of our heads together to bring that to life on the comic, on the movie.
Speaking of the choreography, what kind of training goes into the action sequences?
Huh?
Speaking of the choreography, what kind of training goes into the action sequences?
Okay, the idea of the choreography, and we were actually talking about that yesterday. I just finished working a movie this last month doing choreography, and will be you just like we do at the school, keep the egos outside and let's work together. So we have to work together with the director. We have to work together with Jen, because Jen is a martial artist, and it's his story. So there has to be something that we all put our heads together and give input. So when the result is something that makes sense for the story. So the training is going to vary, with the actors involved. It has to vary.
Right.
Once we actually get to do it, it's going to, if it's a girl, if it's a guy that has experience, or if it's a guy that has no experience. But just like you would prepare for a tournament, you really have to, in a story that serious, martial arts, in a martial arts feature like that, you really have to train like you're training for a competition.
So is there anyone that helps out that's not into martial arts, or does everybody practice pretty much?
Before we signed the contract with Patty, we fought.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a requirement that that someone has to get punched in the face before they get involved in Justice for Hire.
Yeah, Patrick actually, when I met Patrick, he started training at the school, and we see each other quite often. And he's doing really good. He's blue belt.
See, that's the other problem when you start. It doesn't. That's honest to God. That's how we got into martial arts. Well, not entirely true. I got in when I was like 19. I was doing karate and I quit, and all that. But as I got older, we were doing a different show, and we went to interview a martial artist, and Stu and I did, and we signed up the next day. It's addictive. You can't help it. You get around it, and you want to do it.
You get punched in the face. You want to do it again.
Yeah. So we feel you. We feel you. We know how it goes. Now, Jan, I have a question for you. I love my dad. He's an awesome guy. He's one of my closest friends, but I'm not sure that he and I could ever work together. So what's it like being partnered with someone, in your family? What's it like to work with someone like your father?
It's pretty incredible. I mean, Dad, his knowledge of the comic industry just runs so deep, and like I said, I was raised in a martial arts and comic book family because my dad was a comic critic for a while before he became a comic writer. So just being able to call upon him, not just for strategy, whether it's whatever we're doing with the comic book storyline and rollout, or to the corporate side, he's just got a great mind, and it's an asset to everybody on our team. So and he's also just a top-notch martial artist. I mean, I think he's going back to the he's the bronze World Cup medalist right now for push hands.
Wow.
And he's going back out there to fight again to Taiwan. It happens every 2 years, and we went with our team 2 years ago. And I'm not going to be able to make it this year, but I think he's leading the team out there this October, hopefully. So he's a high-level martial artist and just great businessman and a great creator. So I'm very, very blessed that we're actually related, and so it's pretty amazing.
Now, was your father the one that got you started in the martial arts?
My mom got my dad started. My mom is responsible for, several people starting to train that have grown immensely, and my dad's one of them, and of course that he trickled that down to me with just his attitude toward training, and it's like I said, I was around it growing up around Chinese kung fu masters in Chinatown, New York, and that was just a big part of my daily experience. But it wasn't until I was about 15 or 16 that I started training in Tai Chi, and it's Tai Chi that really changed my perception of martial arts.
So that's what I mean, man. We could talk to you guys forever. Honestly, you guys are just like, you've done, the Justice for Hire stuff is awesome, but all of you have such in-depth backgrounds with different forms of martial arts, and it's just amazing, man. I mean, Tai Chi and Kung Fu, and it's amazing what you guys do, honestly. And it's triple cool that it's your mom who got you guys started. You don't hear that very often. You really don't. That's pretty awesome. Well, I do want to ask something real quick, because we've heard a little buzz, and I think I believe Sam might have even mentioned it there a little bit ago. Live action movie, is this a for real thing? Is this a reality that we're going to see?
Absolutely.
That's it.
2013.
I was going to say, we don't get any spoilers or anything.
Well, I mean, look, I'm gonna say this on every opportunity that I get a chance to. We're gonna shoot some of the greatest martial arts action ever shot. That's what we're gonna do.
Well, I mean, just watching the web series, some of your guys' stuff looks great as it is. I mean, so I'm excited about it. So personally, I can't wait to see it, and we're gonna pump it like crazy because, like I said, the web series is fun to watch. So, and now that's you, right? You star in it, correct?
I'm one of the characters, yeah. So I mean, we're expanding out the entire world, and really bringing. I mean, having John Machado finally reprise his character, from the comic in live action is that's a massive thing for me. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be pretty nuts. And John was actually showing me some choreography. He just got off another film, and he was just showing me some choreography that he came up with on the fly this past Friday, and it's just fun stuff. So it's really going to be amazing getting all these incredible, not just martial artists but actors together. And we can't make any official announcements on some of the other cast that are joining us, but it's going to be pretty nuts.
Stu's in here making faces right now when you're talking about
training
with John Machado. He's in here going, I want to do that stuff.
Yeah, well, come out. Listen, guys, come out. Let's do the next interview. Let's do the next interview on the mats in Machado's dojo down in Culver City.
We keep talking about it. We know so many. It's like everybody we meet now is out in L.A. and out in California, and it's like
I'm selling my home.
Stu's moving.
Now, are you?
No, but you know what? Let me just throw something in here because everyone's kind of touched on it. But let me just be really clear about this. Justice for Hire and Creative Impulse and John Machado, and I'm happy to throw Stillwell in the mix. It's really cool. I'm sorry, and Nine Dot, of course. I'm sorry, Patty. I just, you're just one of the guys, right? Like you're part of it. But the point is that what you've got here is a really organic brand that fans and martial artists and fans of martial arts and comic books have all gravitated towards in a really organic way. This was not a machine-built system. This was not part of the media conglomerates out there. This was something that was sourced by some comic book fans that were martial arts fans and then got the experts on board because it was that pure.
Right.
And that's why this thing has achieved such critical mass. And that's why when we first found this particular property and started to dig under the surface and see who was really involved, it made us very excited. And as a martial artist, it makes me even more excited to be able to be involved with a brand that doesn't just bring media entertainment value, but also brings some reality to the choreography. It brings some reality to the concepts and reality to the action and reality to the brands that we've all been involved with, whether it's comic books or martial arts. There's real, and then there's what Hollywood gives us, and this is as close to the reality that Hollywood will ever give us.
Right.
So far.
It's almost like a dream team.
And the fact that we have Professor Machado, and when you see what's going to come out next year, you're going to see it stacked with martial artists that you guys know about. You're going to see it stacked with actors that you guys know about. You're going to see it stacked with the storylines from Justice for Hire that you guys have come to expect. And it's going to be amazing.
Can I say something? Joe Machado here.
Sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. For example, we have a lot of all you guys brags at JKD, right? So
yes.
I'll talk a little bit, a good point here about the way I see things. For example, we all know what an icon Bruce Lee was, right? To all of us, right? To not only to the martial arts, but to the movies, you know what I mean? Or even if you had comics, would be comics too about him. But very unique individual, all right? So I worked with coming to the United States with Chuck Norris, who very iconic figure himself, that worked with Bruce Lee. Then with Danny Inosanto, we're still with Danny Inosanto all these years, teaching the legend, right, who trained, lived with Bruce Lee, ate with Bruce Lee. We trained Bob Wall, who worked with Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. So I met so many people and so many great teachers and great people that were around this man. It's like that I never met, but you still get his vibes. You know, you can get his energy. So, but it's impossible to copy Bruce Lee.
Right.
Let's put it this way. So the idea, the way I see this, where this is going, you have all this group of guys working for JFH now, all of us. But on the choreography side, we had amazing people. So my work as well is to assemble the right people. So we're going to have JKD guys there, very good ones, the best guys that work. So if you've seen 300, we're going to have elements of that. If you've seen Wanted, we're going to have elements of Wanted, of the best of the best. So my work too is not just me, we're going to go there and do jiu-jitsu. No, there's none of that. I'll bring my experience, my expertise in jiu-jitsu, of course, but as a martial artist, I'm totally open-minded. You know what I mean? Totally open. So it's not going to be grappling choreography. No, grappling is part of choreography, but everything. So we're going to have the best of the best involved. If we need to get for the cable work, we're going to have the best cable work guys. We're going to have the guys that work in the industry right now doing all the top franchises you see out there now, from Iron Man to this to that. These are my friends. They are my students as well. So there is a big collaboration work from behind the scenes to make something really, like Sam said, and Jen, unique. When people say this, it's like, wow. You know what I mean? So that's the plan.
Yeah.
And that's the genius, and that was the genius of the Retribution teams, is that gives John and Jan from a writer, director, choreographer perspective. The fact of this world with these Retribution teams means that these guys can go in and explore any facet of martial arts that they want and really blow it out in a way that we've never seen before.
Wow.
Now, are we actually?
I have one thing to comment on. What Sam said about the just organic nature of this. In Hollywood, you're always kind of looking for that next franchise, and sometimes it works out well, and you get a Batman trilogy, and sometimes it works out terribly, and you get Battleship. And I think the landscape in Hollywood is changing to the point where there's more control for the creators, and there's more ability for someone like Jan to just say, screw it, I'm going to do it on my own, and we're going to get this thing going, and we're going to build an audience, and we're going to just make sure that we're choreographing kick-ass fights and making cool books and and expanding this world and sucking people in to the point where you're just a force to be reckoned with on your own. And I don't think Hollywood's ever seen that, because up until now creators just didn't have the ability to create cool content and distribute it on their own and just say, screw you, I'm not going to let you do something terrible to my property. I'm going to do it on my own.
Now,
this is a good time to mention, one of the things that we're going to do come 2013 with this brand and with a lot of the aspects of the brand is that we're going to let the audience get involved. Because at the end of the day, who does Jan and John, and who do all of us at the end of the day really answer to? It's the comic book and the martial arts fans that are out there. So there's going to be some really cool things going on where the fans are going to be able to get involved with the world of Justice for Hire in a way that has never been done before. And we think it's going to really take the brand to another level.
Now, with the world around us now, that the whole comic books coming to the live screen and all, are you guys shooting for a theatrical release, or are you going to be going straight to DVD?
I'll answer that one because I think it's probably in my wheelhouse. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot a live-action, interactive, episodic online series. We are also going to shoot a feature film worth of content. If that hits theaters, it will be because the fans and the audiences out there have asked for it and pounded on the ground for it. So we're going to make content that you would expect to see on a 40-foot screen in 5.1 surround sound. And if there is the audience engagement that we anticipate, then it will be at a theater near you. We're going to do our part. We're looking at the audience to do theirs too.
Well, we'll be there.
So what we're needing to do is make these internet episodes viral, basically.
Yeah, people need. I mean, for those who haven't seen them already, and hopefully some of our listeners are learning about them, and they're going to go out and watch them. The series that's already up is pretty awesome. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's on YouTube. You can go to YouTube. You guys have a YouTube channel, correct? And everything's available there as far as the series goes. And,
Justice for Hire, yeah.
And Comixology, for those of you who, it's perfect. Yeah. Comixology is a great thing for comic book collectors everywhere. It's not, I know there's the purists, and that's okay too. Do that. But, for me, I got my collection over here on my tablet. I can pull them up whenever I want. Mm-hmm. And it keeps track of everything for you. You can monitor your series. So you can go there, type in Justice for Hire. You're going to find them. And it's great. So for anybody who hasn't, any of our listeners who haven't been following it, who don't already know about it, go check this stuff out, man, because I'm not lying when I say I learned about it before this show ever got started, and I wanted to talk to you guys, like, right from, you can ask Stu here, you guys were some of the first people I wanted to contact. I'm like, we got to talk to these people, man. They do the coolest stuff, and they're martial artists to boot, and, like, it's just, yeah, I mean, everybody should be a fan if you're a martial artist. I mean, just look at the people they got behind them. I mean, that alone should make anybody interested in martial arts want to learn more. You guys have, like, great people working for you, so we're pretty excited. Thank
you for the word.
Now, before we get out of here, before we let you guys go, and we will let you guys go, we promise. Again, we could talk to you guys all day. We could geek out about anything you wanted, comic books, martial arts. We're down with all of it. But before we let you go, why don't all of you kind of tell our listeners where they can find out more about your individual stuff, as well as Creative Impulse and things like that, and where they can, aside from Comixology, where they can get the comic books and things along those lines,
and or any upcoming events that you guys may be attending.
Sure. Well, JusticeForHire.com is the website for JFH, and they'll take that, doubles as the Creative Impulse website. You can find us on Facebook. You can pretty much find us anywhere if you just Google us. The YouTube channel is where you'll see a lot of the live action content, Comixology, as well as iBooks, and we're pretty much everywhere on every platform when it comes to digital comics. But the Comixology experience is an incredible one, and just go on there and type in Justice for Hire or Creative Impulse, and you'll be able to see everything. And I would recommend starting with Justice for Hire, Rise of Retribution, issue number 0. Again, Rise of Retribution is the important part of that title, and check out that book, because that is one of my favorites, pretty much my favorite of all the titles we put out so far of the JFH series. And we have a bunch of other titles as well, and I would absolutely recommend any martial arts fan or any fan of just incredible artwork to check out John Machado's Fascia Preta, the black belt, and we're working on some really cool stuff with that as well, and that's also on Comixology and every platform. And yeah, you can find, John can tell you where to go for, I believe it's johnmachado.net, but, you can go and check out.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, and then for all the parents out there, because let's be straight about this, guys, right? Like, these comic books are pretty awesome, and we're really watching some real martial arts stuff. These people are really throwing down. So for the parents out there that love Justice for Hire and that love what's happening on johnmachado.net, for your kids that are under the age of 13 that maybe you don't want them seeing the same stuff that you like, on Spillwall.com, in about a month, Spillwall.com will be open. It's a social platform for kids, safe, secure, appropriate content, but always cool. And that's one of the things that we're looking at for Justice for Hire too, is and also everything else at CIE is to really take these brands and make them available to everybody. So Stillwell.com in about a month.
Oh yeah, and also in about a month, because we're rolling on here with the plugs. I'll be at the Stan Lee's Kamikaze here in LA with Geek Smash, GeekSmash.com's booth, doing a cool panel there, and we'll have a bunch of JFH books and doing a signing there. So that's going to be awesome. That'll be in September.
And then we have one more.
So check us out if you're in LA.
There's also 9 Dot, so let's not forget about 9 Dot.
Yeah, so if you want to see what else the 9 Dot's up to, you can go to 9dotentertainment.com, and you'll get a little sampling of the projects we're developing and stuff like that, and contact information and bios and all that sort of stuff.
We really thank you guys for sitting
down
with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's been an experience on all kinds of levels. It was a little odd for us. I think the most people we've ever talked to at one time has been 2, but I know there's a lot more people that's worked on the project with you guys, and I want to thank you guys for what you do. It's amazing. We look forward to the future. If there's a movie,
thank you guys for watching it. Thank you and reading it.
If there's a movie in the theaters, you got at least, well, let's see, I'm married, my best friend will go. You got like 10 tickets right here. If not more. If not, we'll get all the guys. We'll get all the guys from class to go with us. We'll make an event of it. So
we'll be sure to spread the word.
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Awesome.